Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome back to English Made Easy. And I'm so happy that you've decided to spend some of your valuable time with me today. Here on our channel, our mission is always the same: to help you learn English in the simplest, most relaxing, and most effective way possible. We believe that learning a language should feel like a quiet, enjoyable discovery, not a stressful test. Today, we're going to dive into a beautiful set of words. These aren't words about politics or the economy. They're words about us. They're words that describe how we communicate, how we think, and how we feel. Learning them is like getting a new set of tools to understand yourself and the people around you with so much more clarity. They can help you express your feelings more precisely, understand your friends' actions better, and describe characters in a book or movie with wonderful detail. Now, as we go through our list today, you might see some words that you think you already know, and that's wonderful. But I would invite you to stick around because we're going to dive deep into each one. We'll look at the small differences in meaning, common mistakes people make, and the emotional feeling behind the word. You might just discover a new side to a word you thought you knew well. So find a comfortable spot. Let your shoulders relax. Take a nice, slow breath. And let's begin. I promise that by the end of our time together, you'll understand exactly what these words mean, how to use them, and when to use them in your daily life. Let's begin with a word that is all about the beautiful and powerful skill of speaking well. This is a fantastic compliment to give someone and a wonderful quality to aim for in yourself. The word is articulate. Now, this word has a little secret that can sometimes confuse learners. It can be pronounced in two slightly different ways because it can be two different parts of speech. Let's look at that together. When we use it as an adjective, which is a word that describes a person or a thing, we say it with a soft ending, articulate. Let's break that down into its 4 syllables. Let. The stress, the strongest part of the word, is on that second syllable, tick. Let's say it slowly. Articulate. One more time. Articulate. But when we use it as a verb, an action word, the ending sounds like the word late. Articulate. Late. The stress is in the same place, but the ending is sharper. Articulate. It's a very small difference, but an important one. Let's practice the adjective first. Articulate. And now the verb, articulate. Fantastic. You can hear that subtle change. So, as we've just discovered, articulate can be an adjective or a verb. Let's focus on the adjective first. As an adjective, articulate describes someone who is very good at expressing their thoughts and feelings clearly in words. An articulate person doesn't struggle to find the right word. They can explain complex ideas in a way that is easy for other people to understand. They speak smoothly and effectively. Here's an example sentence where we use it to describe a person. Our new manager is so articulate. Her explanations in the meeting were incredibly clear. Let's break that down into simpler language. It just means our new manager is a very good speaker. She explained everything in the meeting so well that nobody was confused. Here's another example. Even though he was nervous, he gave a surprisingly articulate speech. This means he spoke very clearly and well despite his nervousness. When you're looking for a synonym,
You can think of words like eloquent or well-spoken. While well-spoken is a good general synonym, eloquent is a little different. Articulate focuses on clarity and effectiveness, while eloquent often implies a beautiful, powerful, and persuasive style of speaking. So, a scientist giving a clear explanation is articulate. A poet moving an audience to tears is eloquent. Now, let's create that emotional picture to lock this word in our memory. Imagine you are trying to explain a very deep and complicated feeling to someone you care about. Maybe it's a feeling of joy mixed with a little sadness. You search for the words, and for once, they come out perfectly. You are able to describe every part of that feeling, and you see the look of complete understanding on your friend's face. That wonderful feeling of relief and connection, the feeling of being truly and fully understood, that is the power of being articulate. Now, let's quickly look at the verb form, to articulate. This means the action of expressing an idea or feeling in words. Here's an example. I'm trying to articulate why I don't like this plan, but it's difficult. This simply means I'm trying to find the right words to explain why I disagree with this plan. So here is our main usage tip. If you are describing a person or their speech, use the adjective form with the soft ending. She is articulate. If you are talking about the action of explaining something, use the verb form with the ate sound. He needs to articulate his vision. Knowing this little difference will make you sound very advanced. When you hear the word articulate, just think able to speak clearly and well.
2. Elaborate. So, you've just listened to someone who was very articulate. They've made their point clearly, but maybe it was a very short point. You're interested and you want to know more. This is the perfect time to use our second word, elaborate. Just like our first word, elaborate is a bit of a shapeshifter. It can also be a verb or an adjective with a slight change in pronunciation. When we use it as a verb, which is the most common way you'll hear it in conversation, we say elaborate. The syllables are e, la, bo, rate. Notice that ate ending again. The stress is on the la syllable. Elaborate. When we use it as an adjective to describe something, the ending becomes a soft ret sound. Elaborate. E, la, bo, ret. Elaborate. Let's practice the verb form because this is the one you'll use the most. Let's say it together. Elaborate. And now the adjective form. Elaborate. Excellent. Let's focus on the verb, to elaborate. As a verb, to elaborate simply means to add more details to something that has already been said. It means to expand on a point, to explain it more fully and with more information. It's a very polite and intelligent-sounding way to ask for more information. Imagine a friend comes back from a holiday and says, "It was an interesting trip." You're curious, so you would say, "Could you elaborate on that? What made it so interesting?" You're asking them to give you the stories, the details, the full picture. Here is another example sentence. The professor gave a brief summary, but he didn't have time to elaborate. In even simpler words, this means the professor gave a short overview, but he couldn't give any more details because he ran out of time. A simple synonym for the verb to elaborate is to explain further, to expand on, or to add detail. Now for our visual example to help us remember.
Imagine you have a simple coloring book with the outline of a butterfly. That outline is the basic idea. When you elaborate, you are taking your crayons and filling it in. You add orange to the wings, then you add black stripes, and then little white dots, and maybe some blue and yellow patterns. You are taking the simple, basic idea, the butterfly outline, and making it richer, more detailed, and more complete. That is exactly what you do with words when you elaborate. Now for our adjective form, elaborate. This describes something that is very detailed, complex, and often fancy. For example, the wedding cake was an elaborate 5-tiered creation with handmade sugar flowers. This means the cake was very complex and detailed. Or you could say, they came up with an elaborate excuse for why they were late, meaning their excuse was a long and complicated story. So here is our main usage tip. In daily conversation, you will almost always use the verb form. It's a fantastic tool for communication. Instead of just saying what or tell me more, using the phrase, could you elaborate, shows that you are listening carefully and are genuinely interested. It's a sign of an intelligent listener. When you hear the word elaborate, just think, please add more details.
3. Ambiguous. So, what happens when someone refuses to elaborate? What if their message isn't articulate and they leave you hanging, unsure of what they really mean? Well, their message has become our third word, ambiguous. Let's work on this lovely sounding word. Big, us. The syllables are big, us. The strongest, most stressed syllable is big. Ambiguous. Say it with me, nice and easy. Ambiguous. It has a nice flow to it, doesn't it? Ambiguous is an adjective. It's a word we use to describe a piece of information, a statement, a question, a sign, or even a work of art. So, what does it mean? If something is ambiguous, it means it is unclear because it could be understood in 2 or more different ways. You receive the message, but you're not sure which meaning is the correct one. It leaves you feeling confused and uncertain. Let's use a perfect real-life example. Imagine you have a crush on someone, and you finally get the courage to ask them, "Would you like to get coffee sometime?" They smile and reply, "I'll think about it." That answer is incredibly ambiguous. It's not a yes, but it's also not a no. It leaves you in a state of confusion, wondering what they really meant. Here's another example sentence. The ending of the movie was very ambiguous, and people are still arguing about what really happened. In simple terms, that just means the end of the movie was so unclear that it could be interpreted in different ways and nobody knows for sure what the true ending is. A great synonym for ambiguous is unclear or vague. However, there's a slight difference. Vague usually means there isn't enough information. Ambiguous specifically means the information that is there can be interpreted in multiple ways. A classic example is the sentence, "The tourists fed the seal a fish." In that sentence, is the fish what she fed the seal, or is the fish what she is? It's ambiguous, though common sense helps us out. Let's create an emotional picture. Imagine you receive a text message from your boss that just says, "I need to see you in my office tomorrow morning." That's it. No more information. That feeling that immediately floods your stomach, is it good news? Is it bad news?
Am I in trouble? Am I getting a promotion? That intense feeling of uncertainty and worry comes from an ambiguous message. Here's a helpful usage tip. Sometimes ambiguity is used on purpose. Poets and songwriters often use ambiguous language to make their work more interesting and open to interpretation. In diplomacy, a politician might give an ambiguous answer to avoid committing to a yes or a no. However, in everyday clear communication, ambiguity is usually a problem that we try to avoid. When you hear ambiguous, just think unclear because it has more than one possible meaning.
4. Assertive. When you are faced with an ambiguous answer and you need clarity, you can't be passive and just hope for the best. You need to be, our fourth word, assertive. Let's practice saying this strong word, assertive. The parts are assertive. The stress is on that strong sir sound in the middle. Assertive. Try it with me, with confidence. Assertive. Perfect. Assertive is an adjective and it describes a person or a way of behaving and communicating. So, what does it mean to be assertive? Being assertive means you are able to express your opinions, your needs, and your feelings confidently and clearly, while also being respectful of other people. It is the perfect healthy middle ground between being too shy or passive and being too pushy or aggressive. Right in the middle is assertive behavior. It's the balance point. Let's draw a little line in our minds. On one end, you have passive behavior, where you don't express your needs and let others make decisions for you. On the other end, you have aggressive behavior, where you demand what you want without considering others' feelings. Right in the middle is assertive behavior. It's the balance point. Let's use an example. Imagine you are working in a team and everyone is talking over each other. A passive person would stay silent, even if they have a great idea. An aggressive person would shout, "Everyone, be quiet and listen to me." An assertive person would wait for a small pause and say in a clear, calm voice, "Excuse me, I have a thought I like to share when there's a moment." Here's another sentence example. It's an important life skill to learn how to be assertive without being rude. In simple terms, that means it's important to learn how to state what you need and think confidently, but always in a polite and respectful way. Good synonyms for assertive are confident, self-assured, and decisive. Its opposites would be words like passive, timid, or meek. Let's create an emotional picture. Imagine a friend keeps borrowing small amounts of money from you, but never pays it back. You feel awkward, but you value the friendship. That feeling of taking a deep breath and calmly saying, "Hey, I value our friendship, and because of that, I need to talk about the money you've borrowed. I'm feeling a little uncomfortable about it," is the feeling of being assertive. It's not an accusation, it's a clear and honest statement of your feelings and needs. It feels strong, calm, and fair. Our most important usage tip here is to never confuse assertive with aggressive. Aggressive behavior attacks the other person. Assertive behavior focuses on the problem and on your own feelings. Learning to be assertive is one of the most powerful communication skills you can develop in any language. When you hear assertive, just think speaking your mind confidently and respectfully. 5.
Reluctant. Now, it's not always easy to be assertive. Sometimes, when faced with a difficult or unpleasant task, we don't want to do it. We might hold back. In that moment, we are feeling our fifth word, reluctant. Let's check the pronunciation. Re-luck-tent. The syllables are re-luck-tent. The stress is right in the middle on that luck syllable. Reluctant. Let's say it together. Reluctant. You're doing a fantastic job. Reluctant is an adjective. It describes how a person feels about doing something. So, what does it mean? If you are reluctant to do something, it means you are unwilling or hesitant to do it. You don't really want to, and you might do it very slowly or only after someone persuades you. There is a strong feeling of holding back, of inner resistance. Imagine it's your turn to give a presentation in front of the whole class. You might be very reluctant to walk to the front of the room. You might walk very slowly, look at the floor, and feel like your feet are made of lead. That is the physical feeling of being reluctant. Here's another example sentence. He was reluctant to admit that he had made a mistake. In simple terms, this means he really did not want to say that he was wrong, and he hesitated before doing so. A perfect synonym for reluctant is unwilling or hesitant. The opposite would be a word like eager, willing, or enthusiastic. Let's use an emotional example. Think about the end of a wonderful holiday. You have to pack your bags to go home. You know you have to do it, but every part of you wants the holiday to continue. You might put one thing in the suitcase, then stop and look out the window. That feeling of wanting to delay the inevitable, that feeling of, I really don't want to do this, is the very core of being reluctant. Our main usage tip is to notice the common structure we use with this word. Reluctant to do something. This pattern is very natural in English. For example, I am reluctant to spend so much money. The company was reluctant to change its old policy. She was reluctant to get out of her warm bed on a cold morning. It's a very useful and common phrase. So, when you hear the word reluctant, just think really not wanting to do it. So slightly resistant, not quite sure you want to accept a task. 6. Skeptical. Let's move on. Imagine someone comes to you with an amazing story or a business idea that sounds too good to be true. You might not be reluctant to listen, but you might feel our sixth word, skeptical. Let's pronounce this one carefully. It has a K sound in the middle. Skeptical. Let's break it down. Skep-T-Cul. The stress is right at the very beginning on skep. Skeptical. Let's try it together. Skeptical. Wonderful. Skeptical is an adjective. It describes a person's attitude or feeling about a particular claim or idea. So what does it mean? To be skeptical means that you have doubts about something and you are not easily convinced that it is true. You don't just accept what people tell you. Your natural reaction is to question things and look for proof or evidence before you believe. For example, if a website claims you can learn a new language fluently in just 1 week, you should be very skeptical. You shouldn't immediately believe it. Your mind should be full of questions. How is that possible? Where is the proof? Is this a real claim? Here is another example sentence. When he said he had cleaned his entire room in 5 minutes, his mother was skeptical. In simple words, this means his mother seriously doubted that he had actually cleaned his room in such a short time and didn't believe him. A good synonym for skeptical is doubtful or unconvinced. An opposite would be trusting, believing, or even gullible, which means you believe things too easily. Let's use an emotional example. Imagine you get an email that says you have won $1 million in a lottery you never entered. The feeling you get, that mix of curiosity and a strong sense of, this can't be real, it must be a trick, is the feeling of being skeptical. It's your brain's natural defense system against things that are probably not true. Here is a very important usage tip. Being skeptical is not a negative quality. In fact, it's a very important part of critical thinking. A good scientist is skeptical of new results until they can be repeated. A good journalist is skeptical of official stories until they have facts to support them. It's different from being cynical. A cynical person believes everyone has bad motivations. A skeptical person just wants evidence before they believe a claim. It's about thinking, not just negativity. When you hear skeptical, just think, I have my doubts. I need proof.
7. Genuine. So if you are skeptical about something, what does it take to convince you? You need proof that the thing is real, that the person is honest, that the feeling is true. In other words, you need to feel that it is our 7th word, genuine. Let's get the pronunciation right. Gen, you, ein. It has 3 syllables. Gen, you, ein. The stress is right at the start. Genuine. Let's say it together. Genuine. It's a very warm-sounding word. Genuine is an adjective, and it's a very powerful one. It can describe objects, feelings, and most importantly, people. What does it mean? Genuine means real, authentic, and sincere. It means something is exactly what it claims to be. It is not a fake, not a copy, and not a performance. You can use it for objects. For example, I bought a genuine leather jacket, not a fake one. Or the museum confirmed the painting was a genuine Picasso. But more often, we use it for feelings and people. A genuine smile is a real smile that reaches the eyes, not a polite, fake one. A genuine apology is one that is truly felt and comes from the heart. Here is an example sentence. In a world of social media, people are looking for more genuine connections. In simple terms, this means with so much performance online, people want to find real, honest friendships and relationships. Excellent synonyms for genuine are real, authentic, or sincere. The direct opposite is fake, false, or insincere. For our emotional example, imagine it's your birthday. A friend gives you a handmade gift. It might not be perfect or expensive, but you know they spent hours making it just for you. The feeling you get when you hold that gift, that warm, powerful feeling of love and appreciation, comes from the fact that the gift and the feeling behind it are completely genuine. It's real. Here is our usage tip. Calling a person genuine is one of the highest compliments you can give them in English. If you say, she's such a genuine person, you are saying that she's honest, down to earth, reliable, and true to herself. It means she doesn't pretend to be someone she isn't. It's a word that signals deep trust and respect. When you hear genuine, just think 100% real and from the heart. 8. Impulsive. Now, let's switch gears. People don't always act in a genuine, thought-out way. Sometimes people act on a sudden feeling without any thought at all. This kind of behavior is our eighth word, impulsive. Let's say this one together. Impulsive. It's three parts. Impulsive. The stress is on that middle syllable, pul. Impulsive. Let's try it. Impulsive. Great job. Impulsive is an adjective. It's used to describe a person or, more often, an action or decision. So, what does it mean? To be impulsive means to act suddenly, based on a whim or a sudden feeling, without thinking carefully about the results or consequences. It's a do first, think later approach to life. A classic example is an impulse purchase, often called an impulse buy. You are standing in the checkout line, you see a bar of chocolate, and you grab it and buy it without any prior plan. You acted on a sudden impulse. Let's use another sentence use. Her impulsive decision to dye her hair bright green shocked her family. In simple words, this means she suddenly decided to dye her hair green without thinking much about it, and it was a big surprise to her family. A good synonym for impulsive is spontaneous or hasty. An opposite would be cautious, planned, or deliberate. Let's paint a picture. Imagine you are walking down the street with a friend on a hot day. You suddenly see an ice cream truck. Without even discussing it, you grab your friend's arm and say, "Let's get ice cream right now," and run towards the truck. That sudden urge and the immediate action that follows without any planning is an impulsive act. It feels exciting and of the moment. Here's an important usage tip. Impulsive is not always a negative word. It can be, but it can also be positive. For example, an impulsive decision to book a last-minute weekend trip could lead to a wonderful adventure. In this case, we might call it being spontaneous. However, an impulsive decision to quit your job in the middle of a stressful day would likely have negative consequences. The word itself is neutral. It just means acting without thinking. The situation tells us if it's good or bad. When you hear impulsive, just think acting suddenly, without a plan. 9. Rational. Now let's look at the complete opposite of being impulsive. When you don't act on sudden emotion, but instead use logic and reason, you are being our ninth word, rational. Let's pronounce it. Ra-shun-ul. The syllables are ra-shun-ul. The main stress is right at the beginning. Rational. Let's try it together. Rational. Fantastic. Rational is an adjective, and it describes a person, a thought, a decision, or an explanation. So what does it mean? To be rational means to base your thinking and your decisions on clear-headed reason, logic, and facts rather than on emotions, feelings, or sudden impulses. A rational person thinks things through carefully and logically before they act. For example, when buying a new car, an impulsive person might buy the flashy red sports car they fall in love with. A rational person would research different models, compare fuel efficiency, check safety ratings, and consider their budget before making a logical choice. Here's an example sentence that you might hear in a discussion. I know you're upset, but let's try to be rational and find a solution.
In simple terms, this means, I understand you have strong feelings right now, but let's try to use logic and clear thinking to solve this problem instead of just being angry. A perfect synonym for rational is logical, reasonable, or sensible. The direct opposite would be irrational, emotional, or impulsive. For our emotional example, imagine you are watching a scary movie. You are filled with fear, your heart is racing, and you want to hide under the blankets. That is your emotional response. But then another part of your brain, your rational mind, kicks in. It's the calm voice that says, "This is just a movie. Those are actors. The monster is not real. You are safe in your house." That process of using logic to calm your emotions is a perfect example of rational thinking. Our usage tip. The noun form of this word is rationality, meaning the quality of being based on reason. However, in conversation, you will use the adjective rational far more often. It's a very useful word for gently encouraging clear thinking when emotions are running high. Phrases like, "let's be rational about this," or "what's the most rational approach," are common in problem-solving situations. When you hear rational, just think, based on logic and facts, not feelings.
10. Indifferent. Finally, what happens when you are not impulsive and not rational? What happens when you feel nothing at all about a situation? This brings us to our 10th and final word for today, indifferent. Let's practice this last one. It's a little longer. In, diff, fer, ent. Let's break it down. In, diff, fer, ent. The stress is on that second syllable, diff. Indifferent. Say it slowly with me. Indifferent. Excellent work. Indifferent is an adjective. It describes a person's feeling or lack of feeling towards something. So, what does it mean? To be indifferent means to have a complete lack of interest, concern, or preference about something. You simply do not care one way or the other. It doesn't matter to you at all. For example, imagine your two friends are arguing passionately about which football team is the best. If you don't like football at all, you would be indifferent to their argument. You don't care who wins or who is right. Here's a sentence you might hear. He asked her for her opinion, but she was completely indifferent. In simple terms, this means he wanted to know what she thought, but she had no opinion and didn't care at all. A very good synonym for indifferent is unconcerned or apathetic. Apathetic is a stronger word, often implying a deeper, more general lack of feeling about everything, whereas indifferent is usually about a specific topic. The opposite would be interested, concerned, or passionate. Let's use a simple visual. Picture someone asking you, would you prefer to have the walls painted blue or green? If you close your eyes and can honestly say that you would be equally happy with either color and you just shrug your shoulders, that shrug is the physical sign of being indifferent. It's the gesture of no preference. Now, for a very important usage tip. The context of this word is everything. Being indifferent can be perfectly fine, or it can be very negative. If you are indifferent about whether to have pizza or pasta for dinner, that's normal. However, if your friend is telling you they are sad and you are indifferent, you would be seen as a cold and uncaring person.
The negative meaning of indifference comes from situations where a person should care but doesn't. As the famous author Eli Wiesel said, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. So, when you hear indifferent, just think, I don't have an opinion or a preference, I just don't care.
And there we have them. 10 beautiful, smart, and incredibly useful words to describe our world and the people in it. Articulate, elaborate, ambiguous, assertive, reluctant, skeptical, genuine, impulsive, rational, and indifferent. Now, just take a moment. Let's take one last slow, deep breath together. How does your mind feel? Is it a little full? Maybe a bit tired? That is a wonderful, positive sign. It means your brain has been active. It has been working hard, building new connections and absorbing new knowledge. Please see that feeling not as stress, but as the feeling of growth. Please, I ask you, do not put any pressure on yourself to remember all of these words perfectly tomorrow. That is not how learning works. Our brains learn through gentle, patient, and kind repetition, not through force. You can always come back and listen to this session again whenever you need a calm and friendly reminder. What truly matters, what is truly important, is that you showed up for yourself today. You dedicated this time to your own growth and your own English journey. You looked at words that might have seemed complex or advanced, and you discovered that they are understandable, useful, and even beautiful. You are capable, and you are making progress every single day, even when it doesn't feel like it. Please be proud of the effort you made today. Thank you so much for joining me here at English Made Easy. If you enjoyed our calm learning session and found it helpful, please consider subscribing so we can continue learning together in this gentle way. I will be back very soon with another lesson to help make the English language feel a little less like a subject to be studied and a little more like a friend to get to know. Until then, please take wonderful care of yourselves and happy learning.